Hey everyone, welcome again to another episode of Just Building Landscape. I'm your host, Charlie Brose. With me today, my regular co-host, Mark Knutson. And Mark, who do we have today?
Well, today we're going to be talking with relatively new. She's been in the position for a short while, but she is the executive director, correct?
That's right.
Holly Anderson of Access Press, which is a monthly publication in the Twin Cities. Welcome, Holly.
Thank you. And actually, we do go to 9 cities outside of the Twin Cities.
Okay.
So outside of the metro,
Yeah,
but
okay.
like Rochester, Duluth, Wilmer, I can't name them all. I'm
Right,
sorry.
but yeah.
But some of the larger hubs in the area.
That's right.
So
That's
the papers get out there then. Do you know where, like if they go out, do they go to like a hospital or?
Well, that used to be the case pre-COVID, but
Oh,
now
right.
hospitals aren't super excited about having things for
Bringing
you
things
to
in.
touch, right?
Yeah.
And so the Centers for Independent Living,
Sure.
the
Right, gotcha.
ARCs that are out,
yeah.
I want to say outstate, but that's not right. Greater Minnesota.
Yeah.
But the best way to get your newspaper, get a subscription.
And they're free. They are now free because we don't want
Subscriptions
money.
are free?
We don't want money to stand in the way of getting your Access Press. And so
Well,
we'll
now
find...
I got extra money to spend now. I
Yeah,
do.
exactly.
Cool.
Or you could donate it.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that too. So,
No.
okay, we will donate.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good cause.
It is good, and I think there are bigger corporate sponsors out there who don't even know that this exists.
That's what I've always thought about, is that I don't quite understand how it is that there isn't enough funding for this type of a paper, because I mean it is, if you want to know what's happening in the disabled world, besides Disability Channel Minnesota, but obviously the newspaper, Access Press, covers what's going on at the Capitol, what's going on, accessibility. I mean, everything you want to know about is in the Access
Now I was
Press.
going to bring up one more topic here real quick. If you don't like getting that ink on your fingers from holding the newspaper, you also have a web presence.
We do, and we're in the middle of a redesign, so it'll even be a little easier to access. We really want it to be accessible to everyone.
Right.
And over the years, this person did it, and that person did it, and
So
you
it
guys
just
know what
cobbled together,
happens.
yeah.
Right.
And so now we're one of the things we do is we offer a PDF of the
Of the paper.
paper.
That's right.
But we also offer each article individually, and you can search for them.
Okay.
So let's say, well, I'll give you an example. I was searching for how many articles we have done on support services, right?
Sure.
Because there's, it's been an issue for a long time in
right,
Minnesota, right?
yeah, yep.
And probably everywhere, but definitely in Minnesota. And there were 150 articles.
Wow.
I didn't read them all, but
right, yeah.
but because we have our entire collection online, so it is interesting to look back sometimes and just see, oh wait, how were we covering this, and what was the issue? Was it the same? Was it something different?
Right, because by having, like you say, your presence is going to get bigger with the new modifications and the new website. That way, just gives you a chance to offer more content too, as opposed to if you're adding content onto the paper, that's more papers that have to be printed, and that's a cost right there.
So something we did years ago was called Access Press Unbound.
Oh,
and
really?
It was, I thought about you, Charlie,
Okay.
because it was, well, I think about both of you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. But
what about Charlie,
I remember
though?
Charlie saying if we needed someone to report on sports,
Right.
you would be interested in doing that. And so what we're doing is we're going to get different bloggers with different disabilities covering
Yes.
different issues or talking about them. This
Sure.
doesn't have to be go to this meeting. Jane sits in all the meetings.
Oh, goodness.
Poor Jane.
Yeah.
Oh, can I do that? Yeah.
But you know, really, people's experiences and how, you know, what's going on
Right.
in that world. So there are people that want to cover the Capitol, and you know, that's great. But there's also people who are have disabilities and also are an incredible baker, say,
Right.
and they want to help people be able to bake anything they want.
Yeah, share recipes, things like that.
Yeah, and
Lessons.
tips. I remember when I was I used to work at the National MS Society, and I'll never forget, I went to a support group, and this one woman said, you know, you guys at the National MS Society, you give us a lot of information, but when I was at this support group, I finally got some advice to put a towel down on my counter and then put the bowl that I'm mixing cookies with so it won't tip over. And she's like, that's what you get out of a support group or, you know,
Right.
one-on-one kind of conversation, right? Tips.
Oh, right, exactly.
Those
Yeah.
little tips. You mentioned Jane. We got to let people know who she is.
Jane McClure is our editor.
Okay.
And she has been with the paper for a very long time, and I actually can't remember how long, but it's been a long
Hey, that's
time.
okay, though. Yeah.
But I will tell you that Jane has been writing it for newspapers since she was 12 years old.
Wow.
And she got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Minnesota Newspaper Association for, you know, more than 50 years. But she started when she was 12.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, really? Gosh.
Yeah, so she knows, I mean, she just is a journalist through and through, and so committed to, you know, keeping her eyes on everything. And I think a lot of Jane and what she brings to Access Press, because the news is good. It's good news.
Right, because
Yeah.
I would imagine right now, you probably can't even pick up your phone and get her with the legislative session winding down and all the advocacy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that
Still
is,
out there.
it's
Oh
still
my
out
goodness,
there.
it's crazy. But she did come to we have a staff meeting but today, usually for a half hour, and our
Okay.
paper goes to print this weekend. So
Oh.
it's
Oh, goodness.
especially exciting.
Yeah.
And so, but it was funny because I was like, Jane, I have a question for you, and she would be off on watching something, and she'd be like,
Right.
oh wait, what?
Yeah.
So it is busy, and with the legislative session ending after our deadline,
Yeah.
she's got to put in some articles at the very last minute. But
That-
that's what she does, and
Right,
she's
right.
amazing at it.
And there may be follow-ups to them in the next month, because when you get that going to press, you still got 3 days left in the session, and you know those midnight sessions go forever over there. So
yeah, and they come up with something you never thought they would. So
right, and that they're right at deadline,
yeah.
and right past your deadline.
Yeah. Well, Jane is one thing to Jane is planning as a part of our website redesign. She is planning to add weekly content to the site. So
Okay.
she'll be giving you either a preview of what's to come in Access Press, meaning like here's what's going on at the Capitol, you know, or like you said, you know, it's a week after and there's news that hit, but our monthly paper already is
Right.
Right.
It's already went to
distributed.
bed.
Yeah, that's going to be the beauty thing. Exactly,
Yeah.
with the
Now-
website.
You mentioned bloggers and other events, and I got to tell you, June 3rd and 4th, the state adapted softball tournament takes place down at Chanhassen.
That's
I think your readers would like to know what happened,
Yeah.
and I'd be glad to try and submit something for that.
I don't have any control on that part. That's Jane, but I highly recommend you do that.
Yeah.
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 And any pictures would be amazing too.
So, you're looking at the redesign. Is there a launch date you have in mind yet?
Late summer.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we originally said July, but now we're sort of saying maybe August. We have a lot in place and a lot that we want to fix. And so, you know, an example is that archive. We need more tags
Sure.
to so that people can find what they want when they want it.
Right.
And that's a pretty big undertaking for a designer to, go back and add all
Right.
that stuff. So,
Oh, right, yeah,
it's stuff like that
Right.
is, we want to make
And
sure is right.
You're covering all the accessibility corners that you need for the site. Will it, for say visually impaired, will it be able to accommodate page readers like they use?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes, and we are doing everything we can. The only thing we can't do, we're going to have the second to top most accessible page according to one of these international places that tells you what's the best way to
Okay,
have your
sure.
website, right?
Right, yeah.
And the reason it's second to best is that to be best, you really can't take credit cards on your website. It's something about those forms aren't really accessible.
Sure.
And so that's one place where we have to put our foot down and say, no, we need to accept credit cards on our website.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
we have to stay in business.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, that'll be our one exception.
Good, that's a good leadway, because that's where I was going to go, to the dirty subject of money.
Yeah.
Where do you, how do you get funded? How, what do you
So-
do to keep going?
I have just been doing some planning with the board. We have, if I'm right, 5 streams of revenue. So
Okay.
one of them is donors.
Sure.
So individuals who want to, some people want to pay for their subscription, right? Some
Yep.
people want to keep us in business. And so we have a lot of donations, and they're anywhere from $15 to, a few thousand. And so I think we've got some really good donors.
A few thousand, yeah.
We'd like $1 million, please.
Oh, really? Okay, so, let me.
We'll get right on that.
You'll write that check
Yeah,
for
okay.
me?
Check the couch cushion tonight.
Yeah, no, and we have corporate partners that are like Handy Medical is a great example of a partner that donates to us and is very generous. And so we're going to be tapping more into some of our
Yeah,
corporate partners.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then we also have, we have grants.
Grant,
And
okay.
it's a little bit more volatile if you think about that. And
Very difficult.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
it's
suppose.
challenging and you
'cause
don't know.
It's here one day, gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They approved it one year, and the next day it's nope.
Yeah, and everybody turned their stuff over for COVID, and so it's hard to be a newspaper because you really are serving people,
Right.
but it's not a vaccine, which
Right.
really they need money to give vaccines out. But
Right,
but
right.
I also think that it's a little harder to explain that. But
No, it is.
we have applied to become members of the Institute for Nonprofit News.
Okay.
And this is a really neat organization, and they provide a match gift to all their members and they go and get this money from like the McKnight Foundation, places
yeah,
like that.
right.
Last year they gave $26,000 in match to each member who was able to raise $26,000
Oh, they did?
Okay.
in the last 2 years of the month. And so I am keeping my fingers crossed that we become members and
Right.
and then that we're able to get that match. And I have it all set up how I'm going to do it and get everybody to give money at the same time.
Now, do Access Press do advertising then?
Yes.
Do they sell print ads, things like?
So that's the last piece I would say. We have advertising, and we sell all kinds of sizes and classifieds, and
Yep.
we have a directory listing too, which is a more economical way for people to be in the paper. It's printed 4 times a year, and it's online all the time, and that's just to say, hey, we're here when we do this.
Right,
you know?
right. Yep.
And so that's the biggest revenue piece right now, but it's also challenging because first of all, everyone's been hit
Yeah.
since the
Yeah,
pandemic,
yeah,
and
yep.
it's and so newspaper advertising in general is going
Right,
down,
right.
down,
That
down.
just went down because
Yeah.
Yeah.
not the plague or anything, just the industry.
Yeah, the industry itself. And so what I'm trying to do with those other streams is, when you think about your 401k, I'm trying to diversify.
Yep.
So advertising has been our big thing, but it's no longer reliable. So we need something like a bond, you know.
Right.
And we need to work on
Right.
changing that revenue stream. I think we're going to get there, but I am really excited. I have a new employee starting in the next month, and she's going to
really?
work with me. The two of us are going to just hit the streets in terms of grants and corporate sponsors. And
What's her position? That just
she will be development and marketing manager.
okay.
And we just actually we have a new person who is the development marketing coordinator. We have to think of better titles. These are
Well,
long. They're
yeah.
just long.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but that's the name of the game.
It is
you know?
kind of what
yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
But she's handling all of our ads right now and what we have, and she'll she's just great. Her name's Mary, and if you want to call Mary, you can call her and get an ad.
Yeah. Now, is your position? Are you a full-time employee then?
No.
You're not.
I am technically a 20
What?
hours a week employee. It hasn't quite.
Worked out that way?
No.
You're still kind of waiting for that 20 maybe sometime, but yeah.
Yeah, it's it's hard because I'm very passionate about Access Press. I have
Right. Oh, yeah.
loved Access
yeah.
Press since I started working with people with disabilities. And
Yeah, we've got it from the first day I
Yeah.
heard about it and that. So
it's so much information and just so well done that it's hard to stop working. And so that's what our board chair told me from the beginning. He said, I don't expect you to work full time for this half-time job. And he said, but you're in charge of pacing yourself. And I am my own worst enemy. So.
So, as the executive director, what's the scope of your position?
So I am the person who's in charge of the whole business side, the ads, the all the development and marketing work, paying the bills,
yeah.
Fundraising.
and getting the money in. Yeah, events. We're planning to have an event this fall. I have no more information than that, but we're going to have an event this fall. And finally, an in-person event. So
Great.
I think that'll be really great. But those are the kinds of things that I work on. And then I work with the board on overall strategy. And Jane and I work together very closely on overall strategy with grants and things like that, because there's nothing worse than writing a grant and getting money in for a program she can't do.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Doesn't have the time.
Right,
can't-
right.
And so we work really closely all the time.
And then Jane is basically the editorial and everything
Yeah.
else side.
That's right. And
Okay.
she and I together report to the board, so we're equals in that world.
Okay.
And it's been really fun to work with Jane. Like, I have to say, I think the two of us fill in holes
Okay.
with the other one, pretty well. And her history on this paper, her knowledge. I
Right,
mean,
right,
she
yeah.
can pull stuff out from 1990, whatever. And,
Right. Yeah.
and sometimes it's relevant.
So how big is the board then? How many members are on the Access
Oh,
Press
that's a
board?
good question. I think we are at,
Every once in a while I get a good question.
I know, I want to say we're at 9,
Oh, okay.
and they're actively pursuing someone right now
Okay.
so that might make it 10, which nobody wants, an even board, but we really want to make sure that we have people from all over the state, and that we have people with different disabilities
Right,
and
So who kind
diversity.
of makes up the board then without, I mean, if you want to name names or you don't, but just kind of,
Yeah.
what,
Their
who-
anonymity.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't mention names, but maybe what they do, where, whatever.
Yeah, so, I'll talk about our board chair first, Joel Yoland. Joel worked for the MS Society for many, many years, and one of the first bills he got passed was MEAPD. So that is, I mean, you guys know how important that is. It's about paying when you,
Right.
letting you work some
Right.
and still getting these great benefits.
Right,
Right.
right.
And so he's very passionate about these issues. He worked for MS with me back in 2002.
Okay.
And then he left and went to UCare, and he's a lobbyist for UCare.
Okay.
And UCare cares a lot about people with disabilities. And in fact, they're one of our great sponsors too. But so Joel is there, and his passion is this. He's not on behalf of UCare, he's on behalf of Joel.
Sure.
Okay.
We also have the head of Mental Health America,
Okay.
and we have Kay Wilshire, who is the sister of Joan Wilshire.
Oh, okay. I was just saying
Joan-
the last name sounded familiar,
Yeah.
but the first name I'm like, what? Yeah, oh, gotcha. Okay.
So, and Joan for years and years led the state office on disability.
Right, exactly.
I don't know how I
Yeah,
get titles
Minnesota
wrong.
Council for the Disabilities.
Thank
yep.
you.
And they kind of shortened it up too, because
Yeah,
they kind of had a wordy, long. Yep.
Yeah.
long name
Now
that
it's
no one can
Minnesota
remember.
Council Disabilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, she's really connected. Then we have Walt, who used to work at the Courage Center, and he was in development, so he has a great background in individual giving and
Right.
major gifts. And we have three. Let's see, we have John Clark, who but he lives with a disability, and he has CP, I believe, and he was a social worker in his field, and smartest man I've ever met, really.
Okay.
And then we have three new board members. One is Mark Daly. You might recognize his name. He was a reporter for, I believe, Care 11 for years and years and years.
Okay.
And then he moved into a public relations role. Now he's doing public relations for Lifetime Fitness.
Okay.
Okay.
He's a great guy. He has a lot of connections into the disability world.
Oh, he does.
And a lot of interest in.
How does it? Is he
He
disabled?
has- He has a hearing hearing
hearing
loss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how he got the connection. Yep.
But I don't know that that's how he got the connection.
Okay,
I
right.
think it's due to his reporting. He just really got involved.
Yeah, the name is very familiar. Yeah. Okay.
And I think he mentioned maybe some family members with disabilities, which really, if you don't have a family member with a disability, you just don't know it.
No.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, we know.
Right. Right.
Somewhere on the tree, there's somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I lost my train of thought. Where were we?
Oh, we were talking about Mark and other board members.
Yes. Oh, our other two board members are really new. One is a public defender, and she lives with spina bifida, and the other person lives with spina bifida as well, and which
Public
is,
defender. Okay.
she's a public defender, yeah, and he works for a company that kind of gives you all the parts for a catheter, so he's really well versed in
Right,
in a
yeah.
lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's tough. Yeah.
and
yeah.
he lives with a disability himself. So that's kind of what we look for, really, is we look for people. You just can't be on there because you have a name or you're.
Right,
That's
right,
why
right.
we don't have CEOs of companies, because it's not that kind of board.
No, you gotta be able to. You gotta have that experience
Lived-
and understand.
we
to
talk
relate
about
with
that.
what the content of Access Press should be.
Yeah, and understanding things like, a lot of people would say, why are you still printing a paper?
Yeah,
right.
And there's reasons why we're still printing a paper, and it's important to certain members of our community.
Right.
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 And so, it's things like that they have to have that lived experience.
Yeah. Do you there's the yearly ADA celebration. In the past, it's been virtual. Do you know what's going on this year as far as
Yeah.
what's happening?
I am really excited to be on the committee for that. And
Well, I guess you are the person to ask that.
thank you. Well, it's going to be virtual this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
The theme is Minnesota has so much to explore, and it's about going outdoors and seeing how much we have that is accessible. And so if I don't know if you guys, well, I know you guys have heard of this, but the new land vehicle that they have at state parks that you can check out for free.
Okay.
And it's accessible.
Oh, right. The wheelchairs with tracks on
It's
them.
it's
exactly.
big tracks. I mean, you can
Yeah.
go.
So it's a wheelchair that you get that you sit on, and it's got tracks, and then you can get out into
Out
the
and
grass.
about. Yeah.
Onto the
Thick. I'm talking the
trails.
thick grass. I'm not talking like
Oh, you can
your
go
golf
over
course.
little hills, like
Right.
mountains of rock in that thing. It's
Right. Yeah.
it
I always
is.
kind of wonder what the liability clause must be great on signing that baby out.
Yeah, but when you think about that, that's sort of the newest thing, right?
Yeah.
But we have so much accessible outdoors in Minnesota, and it's so we're going to celebrate it. We're going to celebrate that part, and there's a lot of our state organizations are really passionate about this. I mean, the DNR is really passionate about it. But my role, it's July 26th, we'll show it.
Okay.
We're having several videos put together, and my part is for people who cannot get outside, what can they do inside to enjoy the outdoors?
Yeah.
And so
Right.
I have found some apps. Well, I actually use them myself. One is you take a picture of any plant, and they will tell you what that plant is and show you what the plant is, and they'll also tell you if that's your house plant, whether you need to water it or not, or what's going on with it. And so that's one way. And then there's a bird app too, where you can catch a bird, and then it'll tell you everything about that bird. I don't know if you guys have ever been on any of those wolf cams or eagle cams.
Yeah, a little
They're
bit. Yeah.
neat. When I was pregnant, I would be up in the middle of the night. This is 15 years ago. And all I did in the middle of the night was watch the pandas at the National Zoo, because the mom she just had a baby
Oh,
too.
okay. Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
I can't sleep. I'm going to watch this mom. And it was great.
But I'm not going to have a panda.
No, that would be trouble for sure.
Well, we need to wrap up here.
Yeah, we do. Thanks again for coming,
Yeah.
Holly, and we'll definitely be looking for the stuff on the website, and we're talking maybe us here at Disability Channel Minnesota and Access Press. We are looking to maybe jointly together doing something. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there, but we're not exactly sure. But I think we're going to get something done.
There's so much that we can do online.
Right.
It's, I had a special person told me a long time ago, you can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Yeah.
Right, because-
and you have to really prioritize. so.
Because the online is great for individuals with disability, and it's even greater yet for all Minnesotans when it's wintertime and we're all stuck in the house.
Exactly,
to
exactly.
Do the online stuff. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming,
Thank
Charlie.
you.
I want to thank Holly Anderson, Mark Knutson, my co-host. I'm Charlie Brose. This has been Disability Landscape. We'll see you next time.